Welcome to this deep exploration into one of the most profound and enduring symbols in Western mysticism and Jungian psychology, the alchemical wedding. Known traditionally in Latin as the Coniunctio oppositorum, or the union of opposites, this motif appears across alchemy, Gnostic mysticism, depth psychology, and spiritual traditions around the world. But it is not merely a relic of ancient texts or obscure philosophies. The alchemical wedding speaks to a timeless human need to become whole, to integrate what has been divided within us, and to realize a deeper harmony between opposing forces. In the Psyche.to begin, let's explore how this idea emerged in the alchemical tradition. In medieval and Renaissance alchemy, the alchemical wedding is often depicted as the sacred marriage between Sol and Luna, the sun and the moon. These celestial bodies represent the primal dualities in the alchemist's work, the masculine and the feminine, the spiritual and the material, the active and the receptive. Their union symbolizes the culmination of the magnum opus, the great work, the transformative process that leads to the creation of the philosopher's stone. But what exactly does this marriage achieve? It is not simply symbolic of chemical reaction. It is the mystical expression of inner transformation. Sol, the king, embodies the principle of spirit, consciousness, and will. Luna, the queen, embodies soul, the unconscious, receptivity, and intuition. Their alchemical wedding, often depicted as a ritual or even a death and rebirth, results in the birth of the divine child, a new, integrated being who is neither one nor the other, but both transformed. This child is often understood as the philosopher's stone itself, the perfected state of matter and spirit, the integration of all polarities. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, took this imagery and brought it into the modern psychological world. In his studies of alchemy, particularly in works such as Psychology and Alchemy and Mysterium Coniunctionis, Jung argued that the alchemists were unknowingly externalizing inner psychic processes. The operations they believed they were performing on matter were in fact symbolic projections of the individuation process, the journey towards psychological wholeness. According to Jung, the alchemical wedding is one of the clearest symbolic representations of individuation. At one level, it represents the integration of the anima and animus, the inner feminine in men and the inner masculine in women. Most people project these energies onto others, especially in romantic relationships. But the deeper work involves reclaiming those energies within ourselves. For a man, this means recognizing and integrating his capacity for feeling, receptivity, and relational depth. For a woman, it may involve owning her inner authority, structure, and logos. When these energies meet within, they form a union that transcends the personal ego. This inner wedding creates a bridge to the self, the totality of the psyche, both conscious and unconscious, at a deeper level. The alchemical wedding also symbolizes the union between ego and self. The ego, representing our conscious identity, must undergo a symbolic death, often through crisis, suffering, or shadow confrontation, to be reborn in service to a greater whole. This death and rebirth pattern is mirrored in countless mystical and mythological traditions, from the crucifixion and resurrection of Christ, to the death of Osiris and rebirth through Isis, to the descent of Inanna into the underworld. Each of these stories reflects the structure of transformation, descent, dissolution, integration, and return. Mystical traditions across the world echo this idea. In Christian mysticism, we find the concept of the mystical marriage, where the soul is united with Christ as its eternal bridegroom. In the Kabbalistic tradition, the union of divine masculine and feminine, Tiferet and Shekinah, restores balance to the world. In Gnosticism, salvation involves the reunification of the fragmented divine sparks into wholeness. In Tantra, the spiritual path is often described as the union of Shiva, representing pure consciousness, and Shakti, the creative force of life. These are not just theological metaphors. They describe a universal psychic reality. Transformation comes not through escape, but through union. Jung emphasized that individuation requires the tension of opposites. One cannot become whole by choosing one side of a polarity and rejecting the other. Wholeness comes by holding opposites in conscious awareness, what Jung called the transcendent function. This tension generates a third thing, a synthesis that is not compromise, but transformation. That is the psychological meaning of the alchemical wedding. Let's not forget the symbolic elements often present in these alchemical depictions. The vessel, or vas hermeticum, representing the psyche itself as the container for transformation. The garden, or temple, representing sacred space. The crowned figures, symbolizing sovereignty over one's own inner world. The child, representing the new self born of the conjunction. And, frequently, the phoenix, emerging from flames as a symbol of rebirth. In psychological life, the alchemical wedding is not a single event, but a recurring process. Every major psychological transformation, a relationship crisis, a spiritual awakening, a confrontation with mortality, can catalyze a new stage of integration. We are continually being asked to reconcile polarities, reason and emotion, action and surrender, light and shadow. Each successful integration brings us closer to wholeness. And so, the alchemical wedding invites us not only to understand, but to participate in our own transformation. It teaches us that suffering has meaning, that crisis is an invitation, and that the union of opposites is the birth of true wisdom. The mystical marriage is not an escape from the world, but a deeper incarnation into it, as a unified being, radiant from within. Thank you for watching. If this exploration of the alchemical wedding and Jungian psychology resonated with you, consider liking, subscribing, and sharing it with others on their journey. And in the comments, let us know, where are you in your own great work? Until next time, stay curious, stay whole, and keep walking the path.